and welcome into another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. And I don't know about you, but I have had no personality the past 7 days outside of MomTok. MomTok updates, MomTok podcasts, MomTok breaking news. It's like I have been glued to my phone. And I am chronically online, obviously, that's my job, but like, wow, infiltrated the brain MomTok has. It feels like a leech sucking out all of the creativity from my brain because I'm trying to keep up with Call Her Daddy appearances, spinoffs, a new probe into a potential third allegation, what's going on with the Bachelorette. I'm losing sleep over here. I don't know about y'all, but I'm losing sleep over here. And of course, we are going to get into all of that in this week's deep dive. And it is a lot. So make sure you hang around for that. But first, let's get into the pop three. So in case you're new here, the pop three are the three biggest headlines in reality TV in pop culture. And we have to start with Kyle Cooke. Kyle Cooke. This week's episode of Summer House was bad. And coming into it, Bravo fans, we were bracing for impact because Andy Cohen said on his radio show that this was Kyle Cooke's worst episode in 10 seasons of Summer House. And in the first 7 minutes, we find out why. Now, is it bad that I wasn't shocked by what I was seeing? And I think that's what makes it bad. You know, don't get me wrong. The way that Kyle spoke to Amanda in this episode was completely unacceptable. And then, you know, him justifying it in his confessional and saying he's sorry, but adding a but afterwards. It's like, no, dude, just leave the but out of it. It'll do you better. But as a viewer, I just feel like this is nothing new. I think after I've had time to process it, watch it twice, actually, I do think that this was the worst moment for Kyle towards Amanda, because we've seen him blow up and we've seen him say terrible things about her, but to cuss her out in front of her friends and the extent to which it went was just, according to Andy, you know, the worst that it's been in 10 seasons. I just feel like, you know, every season we are discussing the way Kyle speaks to Amanda. We're discussing how Amanda feels about his drinking and going out. And then we talk about how Amanda says petty things to Kyle. But in my opinion, you know, Amanda being petty does not give Kyle the right to berate her. The extremity of it is very different. And that's the thing. I just always think that Kyle takes things too far. In case you didn't watch this week's episode, he said F you to her in front of all of their friends. He called her a dumb A, B. And I know the kiddos are listening, so you're welcome for being kid safe on the pod. But really, really, really bad. And this stems from him saying, I feel isolated and alone. My friends ditched me. You know, he is in like that little side corner of the living room, like DJing, and nobody's there dancing to his DJ. It's like, yeah, because we do this every day, Kyle. Are we not allowed to go sit in the hot tub for 5 seconds, put our feet in? We've been on the move. Our dogs are barking and we just want a little heat on the feet. But no, we have to drop everything and watch your makeshift DJ set with the cardboard cutouts in the background. We're over it. We don't have to do what Kyle wants to do 100% of the time. And if we don't, we're all of a sudden bad people. And Amanda, according to Kyle, is giving FUIs to him. Amanda's reaction to Kyle cussing at her in front of all of their friends was very telling to me. This is definitely not the first time that she has heard these types of things. I mean, we even get a conversation between her and West where she says, this is tame. You know, what Kyle just said to me in front of all of you guys, this is actually a calm version of Kyle. And the way that Amanda immediately just wanted to shut it down so that it didn't escalate tells me that there was a time where she didn't shut it down and it did escalate. You know what I'm saying? And Kyle says, you don't make an effort with me, Amanda. You've been hanging out with everybody else all day long. And again, around the merry-go-round we go because it's a tale as old as time. It's like, Kyle, how many times can you come into the summer saying, I want to reconnect with Amanda this summer? Well, now by the 10th one, she's like, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to use this summer to reconnect with you when you have been ignoring me in the off season because there's not cameras around. I've told you time and time again, I don't want you to go out and DJ until 5 o'clock in the morning. I want you to control your drinking. So now all of a sudden, Amanda wants to let loose and have fun with her friends because she's been isolated and ignored at home. But because this is Kyle's moment to reconnect with Amanda, he has to then cuss her out. No, dude, that's not, again, it's always Kyle's world and everybody else is just living in it. And does Amanda take jabs at Kyle? She does. But they haven't come out of nowhere, which is what Kyle is not understanding. They come from years of resentment, from continuing to stay out drinking until 4 o'clock in the morning with strangers. It's from the DMs that she gets from people, always with the rumors about his faithfulness in the marriage. When Kyle says to West, she spent more time with you than me, I was like, oh boy. I bet you those Dumois rumors hit a little bit differently for Kyle because we hadn't seen this at the moment, right? We just saw that Amanda and West have been roaming the streets of New York in group settings, but just having a grand old time. And then, of course, the Dumois thing came out where it's like, are they whatever. And Kyle's on Watch What Happens Live, and he's like, I don't think that there's any truth to it. But there seems to have always been some jealousy. Or at least that's where it started this summer with Amanda and West. So I can imagine, knowing what we know now, behind the scenes, I bet Kyle had a tough pill to swallow when that headline came out there. Even though I don't believe it to be true, definitely a trigger. But this is actually what West said about Amanda on Watch What Happens Live because Andy asked, what's going on with you and Amanda? He didn't. He did a poll. He did a poll asking the audience if they would ship Amanda and West, and obviously everybody said no. But this is what West said. She's single now, and it's happened already to other people she's hung out with. We were just hanging out in New York. I got to show her the streets. If it's not clear, that's a very important person to me. That's a friend. I hope it's clear. Which I'll be honest, it wasn't clear initially as he was giving this answer. It was a little bit cagey in my opinion. But at the end, Andy kind of probed and was like, as opposed to a romantic connection. And he said, that's a friend. I hope it's clear. So I don't know. I don't know. But here's another thing I don't like. Kyle Cooke blows up at the people closest to him. We've seen it with Amanda. We're going to see it with Carl. And Andy saying that this was Kyle's worst episode. I know we were all thinking that it was going to be the Carl fight. So I'm anticipating another pretty bad episode when he gets in the fight with Carl. But it's like Amanda and Carl are probably the two closest people to Kyle when it comes to supporting him. And they're also the most forgiving of Kyle. We've seen Kyle treat Amanda this way for years. We've seen Kyle say pretty awful things about Carl on camera. And they're both the first people to forgive him. So it really, as we're 10 seasons in, it really starts to just get to me that Kyle, these two are, ride or dies for you. So why are you lashing out on them when they're probably two of the most loyal people in your corner? All right, let's move on to some Real Housewives of New Jersey updates. Wow, it has been a long time since we've got any confirmation about what's going on in New Jersey. Years. I mean, the last time we all saw them, they were going off the rails at Rails. And Dolores Catania was sitting in the middle of that table like a mob boss, just shaking her head at the broken glass on the table. And we were like, where do we go from here? Nobody knew. Well, now we know. Turns out Teresa, Melissa, and Dolores are returning to the Real Housewives of New Jersey. All that for Melissa, Teresa, and Dolores to be the core three to come back in New Jersey. It's like, bro, are you serious? I mean, Yeah, it is serious. But anyways, the network announced that the ladies would be continuing their long-standing presence on season 15, but didn't mention any of the other previous Housewives. Instead, Bravo says additional new cast members will be revealed at a later date. They broke the news on Instagram, teasing is back better. So it seems like Jennifer Aydin, Jackie Goldschneider, Danielle Cabral, and Rachel Fuda won't be coming back either, or Jen Fessler. I gotta say, I'm disappointed that Jen Fessler is not coming back to the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I don't really understand why. It's like with Jen, Jackie, Danielle, and Rachel, I could give maybe a reason or two why they wouldn't be as back, but I enjoyed Jen Fessler. Gone too soon. And you know who else is leaving? Margaret Josephs. Margaret Josephs, she made an official statement on her Instagram this week, and this is what she said. Hi guys, it's the Marge. I'm dialing in. I have to tell you something that might come as a little surprise to you, but not for me. I've been thinking about a lot of different things, and I am moving on from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, saying she's been in talks with Bravo and Andy since December 2025 to discuss her departure. She says, I think the timing is right. A lot of things have changed in my life. I've been blessed to work on a different project. I'm on the set right now. I realized I have to spend more time with my family, work on my designing, and I just take a break and move on. To her cast, she's calling out the good and the bad, saying she has love for everyone and that she was very grateful for this opportunity. She says, this will not be the last you guys see of me on television. That's not a threat, it's a promise, and I'm excited for all the new opportunities. And I'm grateful for all of you supporting me for all of these years. She concluded, you will see me very, very soon back on your TV screens. Love you. So, Conspiracy Hour, are you ready? Season 14 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey filmed from August to October of 2023. The non-reunion reunion filmed in July of 2024. I don't know a standard Bravo contract, but, non-competes typically last a year, where if you sign on with one streamer or network, you can't go work for a competing network for a year. Although I will say they have been more lenient with that as of late. You see it with Lisa Vanderpump having Vanderpump Villa on Hulu while also keeping Vanderpump Rules on Bravo, Peacock, NBC. But, if it's standard run-of-the-mill non-competes, I think Marge probably got tired of them dragging her feet, and she got an offer from a competitor and she took it. That's just kind of what I'm getting. I mean, she does say, you'll see me on your TVs very, very soon. We'll find out if that's on Bravo or if it's elsewhere. I loved Margaret. I'm sad. I think one of the greatest moments there's a lot of great moments coming out of New Jersey, but I do think Your Husband's in the Pool has to be one of my favorites. So she will be missed. And again, I just cannot believe that after all of that, Melissa and Teresa are the two people that end up back on it's like, just, we're the fools because we play into it, we feed it. It's just like the song that never ends, and it's not going to. I hate to break it to you, it's not going to. And now we got to see, what's his name? What's Teresa's husband's name? Who wears their grandpa's pajamas to bed at night? I can't. Before we get into this week's Secret Lives of Mormon Wives deep dive, let's talk about Maura Higgins being the Bachelorette. Now, I don't know. I feel like as of this moment in time, as I'm recording this on Wednesday, March 25th, it's just internet speculation, but Maura is entering the comment section, and it seems like people would be down for it. I mean, let me pull it up. This first came up on Dumois, and you guys know how I feel about Dumois. You can't trust that to be fact. Can I also just say I never know how to spell Dumois, and when I try to go searching for it, it's like a whole thing. Okay, this is what it says. ABC exec friend said that they are looking into getting Maura Higgins to be the new Bachelorette and do a live shooting of it. They shut down Layla and Miranda as a dual season and are trying to steer away from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives girlies. I have two thoughts about this. First of all, them doing a live shooting of it. I do think that the Bachelor franchise is taking note of what is working and what is not working from other shows. The live aspect of Love Island is really what sets it apart, what initially set it apart from these other long-standing dating shows that we have been watching forever. Not only that, the whole like coupling up and the constant shifts. And I just feel like ABC is so desperate for a refresh of The Bachelorette. That's why they cast Taylor Frankie Paul to begin with, because they needed to, do something completely different to try to catch up to shows like Love Island. I think having Maura do something that would be a live format is them trying to, throw something at the wall and seeing what sticks. Second, the whole idea of Layla and Miranda as a dual season of The Bachelorette and steering away from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives girlies. This was also an internet rumor last week. That at first it was Miranda, and I just got to say, I love you, Miranda. I love you, Layla. But people online were like, Miranda and Layla are coming to save the day as dual bachelorettes. And I'm like, that's going to save the day? Love ya girlies. But I don't know if that's going to save the day. I'm just being completely honest with you. I didn't think that was going to, get people as excited as Maura. I would be more excited to see somebody like Maura Higgins. So she commented on this post with like the side eye emoji. So she's definitely in the comment section wanting people to talk about it. However, a source told Us Weekly that the network currently does not have plans to bring in another Bachelorette as a replacement for Taylor. The insider adds that before Taylor's season was canceled, ABC had their eyes on potential contenders for the next season of The Bachelor, but there has been no news about the future of that show either, which is, again, another curveball that we have to think about. Now that Taylor's season of The Bachelorette has been canceled, what does that mean for The Bachelor? Normally there would be one or two frontrunners, fan favorites that the franchise knows, okay, this is who the people are going to like, who they're going to gravitate towards. Let's pick one of her finalists. Well, now she doesn't have any finalists. And we all know that Doug ended up winning her season. They got engaged, but they're no longer together. So, of course, I've seen comments from him saying that he would want to be the Bachelor, but there's no audience investment in that. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure if he ended up winning, there has to be good qualities there about him. But it kind of reminds me of when they picked Clayton to be the Bachelorette, where we were all just like, oh, okay. It doesn't get me excited to have Doug be the Bachelor. I don't know who Doug is. I'm sure you're a lovely human being, Doug. I just don't know you. All right, let's get into this week's deep dive. We are covering all things MomTok, from the leaked tape to TMZ to Jessi Draper on Call Her Daddy to this potential MomTok spinoff featuring Jen Affleck, and of course, this new breaking news about Taylor Frankie Paul and a possible third investigation into a new incident that happened. So I do recommend that if you are not caught up on MPT, I did a deep dive last Thursday. I did an emergency podcast on Friday, and now I'm back to give you these updates as well. I would just recommend listening to those before this, because I really can't go back and do all of the context. I'll do some of it, but there's a lot, obviously 3 podcast episodes worth of information. So go listen to those and then come back. But let's start with this leaked tape to TMZ. I mean, the longer the time goes on and the more people talk, it seems pretty obvious to me that Dakota is the likely suspect of who leaked this tape to TMZ. I believe I said it in the Patreon on Monday. The fact that there is a TMZ stamp over the video is a big sign that it was sold to TMZ and that they own the copyright. And I did see Emily Baker, who is a lawyer, I believe she was on the Viall Files this week, pretty much say the same thing. And she is a very knowledgeable source when it comes to the legality of that. So I do believe that. But also Miranda is sharing her opinions on it, because our friend Donna Bowling also had some theories on who could have leaked it if it had not been Dakota. And, there was this meeting with Disney execs. The women had a Zoom call with them. And one of the women said, are you aware that there's a video and that there is a child involved in the video? I don't know. Based on the report that came out, the Disney execs were like, we don't want to get into that. We don't want to see it. That's kind of not my business. So Donna was saying, what if that was one of the girls trying to get their attention. They didn't listen, and so they had no choice but to sell it to TMZ. Well, this is what Miranda said in the comment section. The first time I saw that video was the same day you all did. None of us girls have ever been in possession of it or any other evidence. She said, my intent with my statement was not to shade Taylor, but to simply address that I do not support nor condone that behavior from either party. She also emphasized that their relationship had improved, explaining they've been in a good place since Taylor apologized, while insisting I have my theories on who leaked the video, but I can promise you it wasn't any of the women. And Jessi kind of echoes those sentiments in her Call Her Daddy interview. She also says, we were aware that there was a video, but we never saw it. The first time we saw it was the same time all of you guys saw it. And then when asked, Jessi, who do you think? She said, I think it probably was Dakota. So I feel like we all could put two and two together and assume that it was Dakota, which it's like, if it was Dakota, that's one thing. But, his statement went above and beyond to say this wasn't me, blah, 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 blah. And if it was him, I just think it proves him to be a liar. And we've known that Dakota lies, but it's like, if this is a lie that he really told to the masses, like, bro, that's a problem. That's like a big lying problem. You get what I'm saying? So let's talk about Jessi and Jordan. Jessi and Jordan announced last week that they were getting divorced, or I should say, Jordan filed for divorce and TMZ picked it up. And then Jessi went on Call Her Daddy this week to share her side of the story. So first, let's start with the divorce filing. So people reported that Jordan was the one who filed for divorce and a restraining order on March 20th, a temporary restraining order on March 20th. And Jessi opposed it the same day, and it was denied. So that didn't go through. So then Jessi was on Call Her Daddy this week, and she said, I'll talk about Jordan first, and then we'll talk about what she said about Taylor. Jessi says, I ended the relationship with Jordan. I said, I'm divorcing you on Friday the 13th. Jordan rushed to TMZ. I think it was because he knew that Jessi was going to go on Call Her Daddy, I think. She says, Jordan rushed to file, told me that he didn't know that it was going to be made public, but he gave a statement to TMZ. So it sounds to me like he knew it was going to be public and he just wanted it out there that he was the one to divorce me, which we all thought was weird because it seemed like Jordan wasn't really down for the idea of a divorce, while all of season 4, Jessi was contemplating whether or not she was going to leave Jordan. And this Call Her Daddy interview is wild. The things that Jessi alleges that Jordan did in their marriage, from using an escort service, and she says this was like around the time that season 1 was filming. There was this woman who had sent a message saying, hey, by the way, I think your husband is using our escort service. Here are the receipts. Here's Jordan's number. And she said this was before anything got really big. So it's like, there's no way to doctor that because the number was right. It's like nobody would have known what Jordan's number would have been at that particular moment in time. Jessi says he denied it. And at first I believed him. Then there's allegations of orgies. Yeah, I was like, what? That's where we're going? Shocked, gobsmacked, bamboozled. I'm like, okay, la, la, la. I don't want to hear that. Then Jessi says he's spied on me before with the cameras in our house. He has hacked my Instagram account and sent a voice note that Harry Jousey sent me and accused me of cheating on him with Harry because of this back and forth that we had that was completely innocent. She says that Jordan told her, I want you to go to Pilates every day and I want us to return to traditional gender norms, which it's like triggering for us Love is Blind watchers, which I'm like, what are the odds really that Chris tells Jess, oh my gosh, and their names are both Jess, that Chris tells Jess, I usually am with somebody who does Pilates every day. And then Jordan is also going to tell Jessi, you should do Pilates every day. Like, ew, the fact that there's more than one man on this earth that has ever uttered those words to a woman named Jess is just wild to me. But anyways, there was also some allegations of blackmail. She said Jordan had all of these conversations between Marciano and I. And before the world knew about the Marciano situation, he would hang that over her head. Anytime we would get in an argument, he would say, well, I'll just go and post all these text messages that you sent to Marciano, and the entire world would turn on you and they won't like you. And I think what this interview did was just validate how a lot of us felt about Jordan. Not the best energy. I mean, even season 4, watching him be the leader of dad talk and wear all the stupid dad talk hats and say things like, our wives don't have a monopoly on social media. If we have anything to do with it, they sure will. They sure will, because nobody wants to see dad talk. Nobody wants to see Jordan. Like, what is he even going to do at dad talk? He's not even funny. Like, he's not even likable. And that's the thing. In order for a group like that to take off, the reason why MomTok took off is because people could relate to it and people liked the women. Jordan, I don't think a lot of people are going to be liking you, especially after this. Not only this interview, but season 4. We all left season 4 with a bad taste in our mouth about Jordan. So Jessi also talked about Taylor on this interview, and she says, I don't want to define Taylor by her lowest moment, and believes that there's a lot of underlying pain and growth that happened since then. She revealed that the group actually stopped filming multiple times with production pauses before things ultimately shut down again. She says production shut things down. We filmed again. Then we decided we should shut things down because we didn't know how to proceed talking about things that weren't made public. But she says now that everybody knows everything, we're kind of ready to get the ball rolling again if that's what they chose to do. Jessi says she wasn't surprised by the Bachelorette cancellation, but said Taylor showed up as a more confident, old version of herself during filming and wishes that people got to see that side of Taylor. Which brings us to Taylor. Jessi said in that interview, which happened on Friday, I believe, and then it came out on Wednesday. So Alex Cooper did say, like, anything that happened over the weekend, we're not going to be able to address. It's not that we're, not wanting to talk about it. It's just, we can't see into the future. But anyways, Jessi said, Taylor did call me today and she seemed in better spirits, but she knows it's going to be a long, hard journey, but that Taylor is known for telling the truth. And whenever Taylor feels like she can, she will do that. However, today it was news that there's a third domestic violence investigation involving both Taylor and Dakota. Dakota reportedly went to police about an alleged 2024 incident, and authorities are currently reviewing video footage tied to it. So here's some important context. Police have said they only have Dakota's account right now, and the investigation is still ongoing. So no charges have been confirmed. The district attorney is also reviewing the case, noting that any potential charges could be more serious due to a prior domestic violence related plea, right? That was the 2023. So when 2023 happened, they went to court, they took a plea deal, and then seemingly moved on from it. But now there's a 2024 incident that we don't know about. And like this says, we only have Dakota's account of it, and we don't have it. The police have it. And then there would have been the 2025 or 2026, the most recent, the one that happened in February 24th and 25th. So, it does feel like with these things happening, a year later, sometimes more than a year later, I don't doubt that Taylor has tried to get out of this toxic cycle, but somehow or another just continues to get roped back in to Dakota's toxicity and, just unhealthy relationship dynamic. So I do want to switch gears here and talk about Mikayla and Jen. So Mikayla Matthews is kind of poking fun at her separation and pending divorce. I don't really understand what's going on with Mikayla and Jace right now because she's very cagey in all of her answers. On season 4, they talked about separating because they're not intimate. Mikayla, she's having a lot of health struggles, and also she's had a traumatic past that she's trying to work through, and it's just too much for her, so they decided to separate for the time being. Well, she shared a TikTok of herself casually eating Taco Bell fries while lip syncing the words to Mikayla Nogueira's divorce announcement. You guys remember, you're going to want to sit down for this, that video when Mikayla says, I'm getting a divorce. Take a minute, take it in. But Jace walks behind her. So I don't know if they're just, poking the bear, trying to get us to comment in the comment section. But Mikayla says, I'm getting a divorce. And she even captioned the video, sorry, Taco Bell is my only true love, and tagged Jace in it. So I don't know. There's also all these videos going around of Mikayla in California. Is she moving to California? And is Jen moving to California? It seems so, because word on the street is that, I don't want to say Jen Affleck is getting a spinoff, but there is a spinoff happening and Jen Affleck is going to be a part of it. So the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives spinoff is being set in Orange County. And Jen Affleck right now is the only reported returning cast member to this alleged spinoff, and she'll be joined by 9 brand new women. It says a new MomTok crew. So are they just, oh my gosh, you guys, I just had like a light bulb moment. Are they going to try to do like MomToks in different cities? And that be like their Housewives franchise? Instead of the Real Housewives of Orange County, they're going to do the Real Mormon Wives of Orange County or New York City. No, you guys. I don't know if that can happen, okay? I don't know if that can happen. But imagine it did. We were all confused, right? We were like, why is Jen the only one on this spinoff? A lot of people had a lot of reactions to the fact that it was Jen and not anybody else in MomTok. And it's like, well, Whitney is commenting cryptic things in comment section saying that she might be getting a spinoff or whatever. So what if that's it? I'm actually shocked. We'll have to hold off, right? We'll have to hold off. But filming starts spring of 2026, and they're aiming for a fall premiere. Like I said, the comments y'all left me about Jen Affleck doing the spinoff was, wow, a lot. People weren't having it. I can't like necessarily say that I disagree. I find it odd that the first person that you're going to come out with about a potential spinoff is Jen. You know, I would think right now, who's the hot it person of the moment? It's Whitney. And it's not only Whitney, it's Whitney and Connor. People have absolutely fallen in love with Connor after season 4, which deservedly so, rightfully so. It seems like Connor is the only husband on the show that's got his right mind about him, supporting Whitney and following her dreams and doing Dancing with the Stars and going to Broadway. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to make a card disappear during my downtime. Meanwhile, you have somebody like Zach who's like, my relationship has been neglected ever since Jen started doing the samba in front of Mickey's castle with Jan Ravnik. You know, just 2 totally different energies there. And I think we can all agree we'd rather be hanging out with Connor and Whitney than Jen and Zach. So again, I think that there's multiple spinoffs in the work. In fact, I talked about this on my Patreon as I was doing another deep dive that happened on Monday that has information that we didn't discuss today. I came across this article that was written in November of 2025 where Jeff Jenkins, who makes Secret Lives Happen, said, you know, we're exploring a number of different options for spinoff. So I think there's going to be a lot to digest. And I also do think that eventually season 5 of Mormon Wives will start filming again. Whether that involves Taylor Frankie Paul, I think that's the question that we're all wondering. Speaking of the Patreon, if you're not a Lilas Plus girly, what are you doing? You get early access and ad-free episodes of Morgan's Pop Talks. You also get Extra Pop every single Monday. You get first glance at interviews that I do, which I do have a fun interview with someone from Survivor 50 dropping next week. So for my lovely MPT girlies, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek today of what it's like on the Patreon. I did do a full episode 10 recap of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I thought, you know what? Why don't we let you guys listen to it for final thoughts today? So here you go. The Book of Thorns and Roses. 65% of y'all wanted me to recap this episode, and I completely understand. I'm going to go kind of like big talking point by big talking point, and first we have to start with Whitney and Jen, which I feel like this was definitely the climax of the show. And I feel like all of this Taylor drama is overshadowing this conversation that we need to have going on between Whitney and Jen. So it picks up after this huge fight between the two of them. Whitney was upset with Jen because Jen didn't say anything about Whitney getting Chicago when she already knew. And then the fight turned into Jen saying, we're really not friends. Now, let me tell you, if I were Whitney Levitt and Jen Affleck said to me, we're fake friends, after I just let you move into my LA home for an undisclosed amount of time while you and your family was trying to find an Airbnb in LA during Dancing with the Stars, I would have lost it as well. Like, how can you say that your relationship is transactional and then shack up with them? For how long? I want to know how long they stayed in that house, because no. And did Whitney only come back to Secret Lives because of Dancing with the Stars? Yes. True. But that's the actual issue. It's not the fact that it's transactional. It's the fact that Jen feels like Whitney took the Dancing with the Stars experience away from her, because had Whitney stayed gone, it would have only been Jen. Would Jen have made it farther into the competition? Would they not have split votes, with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives watchers? I don't know. I think it's a stretch to blame Whitney for the way that Jen's journey on Dancing with the Stars went. Personally, that's how I feel. And Jen says Whitney is Demi 2.0. Which, if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel. But they did a flashback again of when Jen Affleck, her husband, and their kiddos were moving into Whitney Levitt's Airbnb, having a conversation about Demi, where Connor is saying, I understand that this might be a little bit awkward because we get along with Demi and Brett and you don't. And Jen's like, honestly, I don't even want to talk about it. So don't talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it then, and don't talk about it now, because that is actually what's being fake. Oh, I didn't know I was going to say that, but it's kind of true. So they have this huge fight, and then however many days later, Whitney tries to meet up with Jen at a coffee shop, and in walks Zach Affleck. I'm like, first of all, I would never send my husband to do my dirty work. You want to talk about not letting guys in women's business? Like, first of all, why Zach would even want to is odd to me. And why Jen would be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't you go fight Whitney for me? Like, no, it was just weird. It was weird. And honestly, I feel like the live that Jen did telling people that she wasn't going to vote for Whitney, all it did was plant the seed that there was drama behind the scenes. For as much as Jen wants to say that Whitney is mean, I think that was mean. I think that was mean girl behavior. And Jen's always on about how Whitney and her mean girl behavior and whatever. And it's like, it could be true. They've had a colored past, the two of them, ups and downs and lefts and rights and whatever. There's been times where Whitney has really been there for Jen. There have been times that maybe she hasn't been there for Jen. So if Jen is questioning the friendship, that's fine. But keep the same energy week 1 of Dancing with the Stars and week 8 of Dancing with the Stars. That's what I don't like about it. And Connor has been the love and light of this season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Him and his magic tricks. He's like hyping up Whitney every chance he gets, saying, yeah, it's my turn to watch Whitney and her career take off. I'll stay with the kids and I'll learn how to make a card disappear. What are you going to do about it? That's how I like to pass the time. And then they're on this FaceTime and Connor is going in on Zach, and I'm totally here for it. He says, you know what I hate? I hate when men try to make women feel small. And it's like, yeah, why did Zach ever think that was going to be a good idea? Ever. I just don't know. And later in the episode, Zach says Whitney ruined Jen's Dancing with the Stars experience. Again, is that just because Whitney was better and Jen was mad that Whitney came back and now all of a sudden she has not only an Alex Earl or Robert Irwin to compete against, she has Whitney. There's like jealousy going on there for sure and a lot of competitiveness. But honestly, when Jen was eliminated, you know who was the happiest? It wasn't Whitney, it was Zach Affleck. He's like, our relationship has suffered and I'm ready to go back to Utah. Okay, then go. Let's move on to Layla. Layla is trying to get signed with a modeling agency. She has a meeting with Ford Models. And this is like really niche. If you watched Love Thy Nader season 1, I'm just thinking, because it's also Hulu Disney, I'm also saying Freeform. It's the same casting people that interviewed, which Nader's sister was it? Grace Ann, I think. It was the same people interviewing Layla as Grace Ann. And so I'm like, is this becoming everybody on Beverly Hills and Vanderpump Rules has the same therapist situation? We all know that girl that Jax Taylor and James Kennedy and Erica Jane was going to for therapy. Now is this Ford Models agency guy, the one guy, is he going to be the guy that we're seeing on all these shows when all of these reality stars want to go be models? I don't know. Layla's like, a lot of other girls are getting opportunities and I want to shoot my shot, which is an interesting thing to think about because if you're in MomTok and it's a big group, right? 7, 8 women, and all these other women are getting opportunities and you're kind of not. And not saying that Layla isn't, but not to the extent of writing a book or going on The Bachelorette or whatever. So I kind of feel like maybe Layla feels like she's getting left behind or lost in the shuffle because there's so many other people to, I say look at, but I just mean like The Bachelorette. Like they could have chose Layla as The Bachelorette. She's single, but they chose Taylor. So, there's a lot of having to really put yourself out there to get noticed. And then later in the episode, Layla opens up about an eating disorder that she says, silently struggling with for 4 years. She said she weighed herself and she was 99 pounds. She was prescribed a GLP-1. And that is wild to me. I feel like we all were a bit taken back by that because who on earth would prescribe Layla a GLP-1? She talks about all the hate comments that she's getting about her body. And Jessi says, Layla, this is not healthy. And I don't mean not healthy as in being big. I mean, this is not healthy as you need strength. She says, my knees hurt when they touch because I have, nothing around them to support them. And I feel like in this episode and really in this season, Jessi has showed herself to be the mama bear of the group. She really cares about Layla in this instance. And Layla reveals later in the episode that Jessi is the one who found the facility that they went to talk about Layla's eating disorder. And, we see her show up and, they say there's outpatient, there's inpatient. We're just going to try to work and see what's best for you. She didn't end up going the inpatient route, but that's kind of all that we know right now about Layla and that journey. So, if there's a season 5, maybe we will learn more about that. Taylor and Dakota, I don't even want to talk about it. Doesn't it just drain your soul? Truly, truly. This whole entire season 4 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, is a promo for Taylor to be the Bachelorette, which just makes all of this that much worse, right? Because it's like every single episode, it's Taylor's getting ready to leave the Bachelorette, Taylor's getting ready to leave the Bachelorette, whatever. So Taylor is really getting ready to leave for the Bachelorette, and Dakota is bringing Ever over because it seemed like Ever went with Leanne and Aspen to the airport. So I think Ever maybe was going back and forth while Taylor was filming, but he spends the night. And when Dakota is asked by the producer in his confessional, what happened last night after he spent the night with Taylor, the evil, slimy smirk. Oh, if that doesn't give you the heebie-jeebies, I do not know what will. He's licking his lips and his eyeballs are rolling into the back of his head. I was like, oh, he's possessed. He's possessed by a controlling, manipulative sex demon. And he's roping Taylor Frankie Paul into that. And it's not good. So Leanne and Aspen show up to Taylor's house the next day. And she's not letting them in. She says, you guys, I don't feel well. You go. I'll meet you there. Which I know that Leanne is no saint. Trust me. I saw the tapes. I think the way that both Leanne and Taylor talk to each other is also very toxic. But if I'm Leanne in that moment and my daughter is self-sabotaging her chance to get away from a toxic relationship and be the Bachelorette, I probably would have became a toxic person. Leanne actually kept her cool. It's because she didn't know about Dakota. She learned about it at the airport because the girls are at the airport ready to send Taylor off. There's like a group of 4 or 5 of them there. They're disappointed that Taylor slept with Dakota. And then Leanne and Aspen show up at the airport to let the girls know Taylor's not coming. She's sick. She doesn't feel well. And then that's when the girls tell Leanne, well, she slept with Dakota last night. And I feel like you could just see instantly in Leanne and Aspen's reaction that they're like, are we doing this again? They're done. They're at their wits' end. Even Aspen is like, what are we doing this for? Like, At this point, and remember when Taylor Frankie Paul asked, does my relationship with Dakota affect you? And she was anticipating everybody was going to say no. Like, ask your sister, ask your mom, ask 5 of these MomTok women that woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go send you off at the airport. And Leanne says that she's going to cut her off. I can't say that I blame her. Can't say that I blame her. And then the girls go break into Taylor's house. And Macy is like, well, go check and see if she's sleeping because I don't want to wake her up. Wake her up? I would have been banging the door down, kicking it in. I would have been the Jessi in the situation. Taylor's not happy. She's like, I'm sick and no one will leave me alone. I'm so sick. Why won't anyone leave me alone? And again, when Jessi breaks into Taylor's house to try to get her on that plane to go to the Bachelorette, Mama Bear Jessi emerges. She says, you were with Dakota all night. You weren't that sick. You should have said no to the Bachelorette. You're not well. I'm sick of supporting you when you keep doing this. Period. Period, Jessi. Say it like it is. Dakota then FaceTimes Taylor as she's on her way to the airport. He's eating Taco Bell. He says, I want to say sorry for everything that I did. Everything that I continue to do. Everything that I will do because we're in a toxic relationship. He says, I caused a lot of problems by hooking up with Shania. Duh. And Taylor says, this could be a moment maybe for both of us to heal away from each other. And then Dakota says, save a rose for me. Which, first of all, right, we're holding in our gag reflex. But you know what made me even more mad and made me more ready to vomit? Do you remember what Taylor's response was when Dakota says, save a rose for me? She goes, aw. Aw? No. I'm not even a part of their inner circle, and it's making me want to scream into a pillow. I cannot imagine how Jessi, Layla, Macy, Leanne, Aspen feel because I want to just... Okay. That feels a little bit better. So Taylor ends up going. Not for the better. Then we get to the Halloween party. Shania shows up to the Halloween party, which what is Shania doing, by the way? Is this like just her way of trying to get on the show, like hooking up with Dakota? All the things that you know, and putting your best friend Miranda in a horrible place. Taylor has constantly put Miranda in horrible situations throughout her life, which Miranda was an active and willing participant in the swinging scandal, so whatever. But they had to overcome a lot to get through that. And then and I know this happened in episode 9, but to have Taylor like berate Miranda for being friends with Shania because Shania is hooking up with Dakota. It's like, no, that energy should be going towards Dakota, but you're not together. So like, why does it even matter? And why are you lashing out at Miranda of all people? And Miranda even says like, if Taylor's going to want me to choose between her and Shania, I don't think she's going to like my choice because she treats me like crap. Taylor does. Anyways, the question is asked, or it's at least talked about, like, should Taylor be leading MomTok? No. And I feel like I have to apologize for the things that I said 4 years ago because you remember season 1, we were in this battle royale. Who was the leader of MomTok, Taylor Frankie Paul or Whitney Levitt? I think knowing what we know now, a lot of us would have had a different answer. And it's like one thing, Taylor was the star, right? And people were looking at it from that lens. We're like, we can't see Whitney like being the star. Well, now she is. Now she is the star. And she's had an amazing character arc, to be quite honest with you. But also, if I'm in MomTok, and I think this is why a lot of the girls are finally starting to cut the cord with her, you can't trust Taylor to care about the longevity of MomTok because all these decisions that she's making is impacting MomTok's image and reputation in a negative way, whereas all the girls don't want to go down with the sinking ship, right? So they're starting to jump off, as we saw Miranda and Layla both make statements over the weekend. But anyways, Dakota then sits down with Jessi and Jordan and says, Taylor might be pregnant. Taylor just left for the Bachelorette and she might be pregnant. Which thank God she wasn't. I mean, she would have been showing by now for sure. But like the fact that that's even a question as she is filming the Bachelorette is wild stuff. Wild stuff. And that's where we are. So will MomTok survive this? That's the question everybody wants to know. I don't know. I think they got to move on from Taylor Frankie Paul, to be quite honest. Well, I don't know. It depends on how much accountability she takes. I want to hear her side of the story. If you liked what you heard, you're going to want to subscribe to Lilas Plus. The link is in the show notes below. We do recaps every single week, and you pick the episode that we recap. So again, click the link below. If not, leave me a review, a 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis, because you know I do. Got 2 big interviews coming up for you guys soon that I can't wait to share, but honestly, one of them's a secret and I can't tell you about it. So we'll see you next week, and as always, love you like a sis.